What's up, everybody? This is Shapiro's Rooted in American Craft. I am Matt, alongside my sister Alena. Welcome back for another week of laughs and excitement and enjoyment. This is our 10th episode, so we've gotten 10 more than I thought we'd ever do, so I'm really excited about that. Thank you, everyone, for listening, watching, and sharing the past few episodes. Whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, whether you're following us on our social media, Shapiro Gallery, or visiting us through the website, shapirogallery.com. Thank you again. We've made it 2.5 months. How's your week going, Elena?
It's been pretty good. This is kind of the crazy time of the year for me. Just trying to make sure we've got everything set for, October, November, December, and finalizing orders and trying to figure out gallery display space. So it's been a little hectic, but things are good. We've got, fun new stuff is starting to come in, and so far so good.
Yeah, and thankfully, Mom and Dad are back. So we each got a few days off, which is nice. Uh, Try to recharge a little bit. I've started the fun task of trying to negotiate for a new car, which is always fun. And I'm one of the few people in the world that loves car shopping. So if anyone out there needs help car shopping, let me know. I'd be happy to try to work a good deal for you at the various dealerships. So in addition to shopping at the gallery, I'll start another side job of car shopper extraordinaire. Well, hey, who knows? It could be, it could work. If someone needs it, I'd be happy to help. Well, if you don't need a new car, you might need some new artwork. So, nice transition I had there. What's some of the new stuff we got coming in?
Let's see. This week we received some brand new jewelry, which is very cool. It's a artist from Nashville that's lots of oxidized with some gold fill and some sterling silver. It's very minimalist, but well designed, and definitely has the handmade look, as I like to say. It has lots of hammered. I think she describes her stuff as her jewelry is all hammered in Nashville. That's her kind of tagline. So I'm really excited about this new collection that we brought in. We also have some new handbags that we've added to the mix. What else have we unpacked? Some new blown glasses come in. So there's a lot. You got to stop by and kind of check it all out, do a walkthrough. Again, if you haven't been in the past, couple months, we've rearranged basically the entire gallery. So it kind of has a different feel, different flow to it that we're really excited about. So definitely next time you're downtown, pop in and check it all out.
Yeah, and I'm also I just came out with a new T-shirt design, and it's a mashup of all kind of old school St. Pete designs, whether it's the World's Liquor, the old pier, the old Barnett Bank of America, whatever tower you want to call it. Definitely have to come by, check out the new shirt as well. For those that like nostalgic St. Pete, you're gonna like this design, and the more you look, the more you'll see it has some bookstore as well as on it. So really, kind of anything that's old school St. Pete, it's now here. So definitely come and check it out. This is a guest this week coming on that I'm really excited about. I am very business focused. I try to keep it very professional at all time. And our guest today, John Collins, is one of the first business people in the arts community that I met when I first moved back to St. Pete. He was the ringleader, so to say, of the art scene in St. Pete, mainly downtown St. Pete. John was really influential in the Second Saturday Art Walks, making sure those took place every month. He was really influential in the Shine Mural Festival, getting that off the ground. And also, in addition to the fine and craft art, he was really big in musical art, theater art, poetry, anything that had to do with art. John was the man behind the scenes that often never wanted credit for it, but deserved most of the credit for a lot of these events to take place. It was fun being on committees and meetings with him, and just seeing how he operated, and with all these events that take place, everything needs money. And unfortunately, the arts community as a whole, we don't have extra money just to throw at these events. So the art scene was always reliant on donations and fundraisers, and that's when all else failed, we just called John and say, John, help us. We need to figure out how to get money behind this. He does not want any of the credit. He will always defer the credit to the artists themselves, the galleries themselves, the art scene themselves. So John deserves a lot of credit, and I think over the next 30 minutes or so as we interview him, I hope you really get to hear and see a different side of the art scene in St. Pete, and also get a better idea of what's involved in making the art scene explode the past 20, 25 years or so. So without further ado, let's bring on John so we can learn a little bit more about it. John, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just great today.
So where are you? And who are you? And why should people want to listen to you?
I'm not sure why anybody would want to listen to me other than to be kind to this guy who did his time in the arts. I retired, so to speak, from the Arts Alliance, as you know. And it's not like I retired from life, and so within about 3 days, I was literally washing my house with a sponge because I didn't know what else to do. And Florida, you got to get the mold off. So we were doing all of that in the heat, and trying to figure out what my purpose in life was going to be, what the next chapter was going to be in my life. And I kind of needed to step away from the Arts Alliance. I'm the first person to admit I have founder syndrome. I would second guess everything, but I had to stop, walk away, and let the new person take over that. And literally the day that I retired, which on purpose was April Fool's Day, on April 1st, Paul Wilburn called me that day or the next day and asked if I'd be interested in helping them with the Palladium Theater, with some plans that he had for the future of the Palladium Theater, which was like catnip to me. So we had lunch, and one thing led to another. And for about that's probably around, well, actually for about a year and a half while we were there, I've been helping him plan a $12 million capital campaign to completely turn that inside of that theater into a performing arts center. The plans are amazing. We will close the theater come next June, and it'll be closed for about a year and reopen in 2026, which a small tidbit you may not know, but the building there will be 100 years old in November 2025, but it opened in 2026, so we'll be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Palladium.
Very cool.
So that's what I was doing, and I could do that from anywhere. And my wife and I decided, on the other hand, we terribly miss our arts community. We really find that we made a lot of friends in the arts community there, and we're starting to make some new friends here. But there's just and I wasn't really kidding. There is no Shapiro's Gallery here. I hope you'll consider opening a branch. We'll help you. There's some lovely spots, but there's nothing of the quality that you guys have given to St. Pete for, I don't know, I came 20 years ago. It's probably longer than that.
So for those that don't know what the Arts Alliance was, and where it came from, you really helped start and create the Arts Alliance. So what is it in a nutshell?
Well, the Arts Alliance, I should have memorized the mission statement better. I just learned a new one for the Palladium this morning. But the Arts Alliance's main goal is, let me back up. I think, and again, I'm sure you and your family is well aware of this, the one thing that the arts need to succeed is organization, right? And that's not typically part of an artist, performing artist or visual artist. It's not part of their brain. And so, how could I help organize things in a way that for the arts to be successful, they needed some organization, and that particular organization needed a champion. So I'm not saying I was the be all and end all, but I started it, and I figured at some point I would turn it over. So when I came to St. Pete, there really was just one local small, I shouldn't say too local, but there was the Downtown Arts Association, and they were sort of doing their thing, but it was mostly fine arts. and then other artists were coming in, like Duncan McClellan, to do his thing, and Mark Ailing, two remarkable artists, but with remarkable vision. And they worked really hard to turn their areas into an area for the arts. So when I looked at it all, right about then, I think it was around 2008 to 2010, the countywide arts association all got fired for whatever reason. They called it because of it was the recession. And so I was volunteering on the City of St. Pete's Arts Advisory Committee and was their chair. And so I wrote a letter to he's not there anymore, the arts critic, the arts editor at the Tampa Bay Times, back then, the St. Pete Times, John something, I can't think of his last name. But, and anyway, they called me and said they were going to run the letter, and they did. The next thing I know, the phone's ringing. Okay, what are we going to do? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. So we had a few meetings, and we tried to play around with creating something called the Pinellas Arts Association, calling it Pin Arts to represent everything. And I thought, you know what, I cannot get my arms around the county, but I can get my arms around the city. And what I wanted to do is literally my claim to fame back then was I went to a bank right there on Beach Drive. It's got a different name now, but at the time I created an account with $1,500 because I needed $750 to pay the IRS to become a nonprofit application, and the other $750 so the checking account would be free. And I put that in there to get my nonprofit. And we started looking for funds, and I was at the time temporarily for actually almost 3 years. I was the arts consultant to Mayor Foster, and working with Elizabeth Brinklow, who you may remember, who was terrific to work with and had a great sense of advocacy. So what all this boiled down to was eventually we convinced the city that the best thing to be able to raise money and support advocacy for all of the arts in the city would be to create an arts alliance. And when I stood up on stage in the Palladium Theater to announce this, I stood up there with an umbrella. And everybody went, ooh, umbrella inside. I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's fake. It's on stage. All of the arts are welcome under the Arts Alliance umbrella. And our goal, our mission was to advocate for all of the arts and try to pull them together. So we started pulling that together. And I don't think, I don't think I did anything particularly earth shattering other than start telling the story for everyone. And we created this little map of the arts districts. There were other people who did an awful lot of the work for that, like when she was a council member, Leslie Curran. And they were city councilors, and they really helped the 600 block back then. When back then you wouldn't even walk down that sidewalk on one side of the 600 block. You'd cross the street because it was smelly and icky and so on. So Leslie and helped convince city council and the artists I actually remember meeting with the owner of that plot of land to say, let's let the artists move in, because somebody had gone to Leslie Kern and said, what if we painted art on the windows? And she said, what if we put art in the building or in the buildings? So for a while there, over the course of a few months, everybody sort of mucked out the stalls. We were invited to come in on weekends and clean out and take stuff and sell stuff, and she hosted some sales. And so then the artist could come in and rent that space for, I forget what it was, like $6 a square foot for 3 years or 5 years. I wasn't involved in that part, but it was great. And it worked out. And suddenly that Chrysalip Arcade right there in the middle became the 600 block. And then a few years later, we started calling it the Central Arts District. And then from there, I worked up and down Central. So bear with me. As the sun rises on Tampa Bay, on the waterfront arts district where you are, another gallery owner down there at the time, who's since moved to Miami, wanted to call it the Museum Arts District. And I said, oh God, no, that's for old people. Let's call it something better than that. How about the Waterfront Arts District? Because everybody knows where it is, or at least they can find the waterfront to get to the museums. So we called that the Waterfront Arts District. And then as the sun rises on Central Ave, it hits the Central Arts District, right? Where Florida Craft Art starts, and then goes down to the Edge District. And I never thought that would take, Edge District. I thought it was kind of corny, but Leslie Curran's place was there, and some others, and they decided Edge. Did you know this? Edge stood for entertainment, dining, galleries, etc. That's why it's always in capital letters.
I
I'm
did not
like,
know
great,
that.
I love marketing. Why not? But what really made the Edge District work is I went into one store there that was run by this young, really hip, handsome young man, all dressed up in basically different colors of gray, and he was selling baseball caps and things like that. But his baseball caps were $85. So I'm like, what? What? I said, is there? And so anyway, he said most of it he sells to sports people online. And I go, why did you move here? And he went, because it's the Edge, man. Okay, enough said. So
Yeah.
we started calling it the Edge. Now the sun goes down Central Ave a little further, and you end up in the Grand Central District, which is where we all go to buy that stuff that our grandparents threw away, right? All that bric-a-brac and knickknacks you love to walk around. And then if you take a left after any one of those areas, you end up in the Warehouse Arts District, which going back to what Mark Ailing and others really pulled together there. So my point in all of this is, in order for all of them to be successful, I just organized them. And then at one point, we got the leaders, which we just kind of made up. And frankly, I just made up the names. Now the city's calling it the Edge District or whatever. We just made it up. But we were able to get away. And I think one of the good things the city did was allow us to do these things. And meanwhile, I was raising money for the Arts Alliance in order to be able to support some of these things, namely Art Walk. I got the leaders of each of the arts districts, my claim to fame. I got the leaders of all the arts districts to come to our office in the Chamber of Commerce. So I have to give the Chamber credit for housing us because they understood the value of the arts and business. And Chris Steinecker bought into that. And so we had them meet in the meeting room there. And it was, I won't go into names, but it was sort of the no one voted for us for anything, but it was sort of the leaders, if you will, of the arts districts. And I just said, okay, here's the thing. If you want to have a trolley, you can't have a trolley, you can't have a trolley. We have to figure all this out. So how about we have one trolley or two or three and they go around, and it's going to be like in Boston with the subway, with the T. You can't each have a stop, but we'll have a stop to serve most of you. Okay,
Yeah.
so people will just have to walk a little bit, but it will really show and will bring people to the Warehouse Arts District who were afraid to go there, but they could take the trolley, which gave it this sense of safety, which it did, and so on. And also, we made the trolley go down to the Woodson Museum as part of Art Walk, and they were open for that because nobody knew where it was. And it's not like anybody's going to go shopping there because the Art Walk was really for your business, type of business. But it was important to include them, so we did. And so we were all sat around the room, and I said, okay, here's the thing: we're going to call it Art Walk. We're going to make it one word because no one knew how to. It's not original. We've been doing Art Walks for 10 years before I got there. But we're all going to decide that it's Art Walk, capital A, capital W, one word, squished together, okay? And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. I said, now, you're all going to agree to this trolley thing. And they're, how much is it going to cost? Because before, they were all paying $50 a piece. And then they weren't paying it, and the trolley people were like, we're not going to do it. So I convinced the trolley people to let me do it. And this is over a period of time. But I said to them, here's the bottom line. I will produce this for you. I don't own it. You are the committee. You make the decisions. I'm not going to make the decisions for you. I don't know how to do your business, but I'm going to produce this Art Walk. And you know what? I'll pay for the trolleys. And they're like, oh, let us think about this for a minute. Okay. So we raised money and we paid for the trolleys to go around. And that, to me, tied the arts community together. Unfortunately, because I love performing arts, that didn't fit into that business model, if you will. But Art Walk became so important, I discovered during COVID that when we raised a lot of money over the course of 3 months, that we gave out $500 and $1,000 increments to businesses and artists to just help them buy food for a while. But when the people applied for it, it was amazing to me how many people said, well, when you, like I did this, when you stopped Art Walk, we lost all our business and now we can't buy groceries. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? But it showed how entrenched Art Walk became in the mantra of St. Pete. And I got to say things like we were the largest art walk in the country, which I mean, nobody could object to that, certainly in terms of space. But it was confusing, but it's had its day. Kind of like I had my day at the Arts Alliance, and COVID came, and that killed the buses for the trolleys, and it just hasn't come back the way that it was before. But that doesn't mean it can't evolve and grow into something else, which I kind of assume it's doing. My Arts Alliance, our Arts Alliance was to advocate and help fund the growth of the arts in St. Petersburg. And toward that end, when I was working a little bit, well, a lot in a way, as the consultant for the arts for the mayor. So we said, let's create an endowment for the Arts Alliance, which people are more apt to give to us as a nonprofit. But I went into the mayor and I was hoping to get, even back then, some sort of a percentage of the budget for the arts. I was trying to figure out how to do that. And Elizabeth, when I went in, and he kind of looked at me and said, no. And I said, okay, well, how about this? Can I call it a city of the arts? I said, I really think we're going to be a city of the arts, and Central Ave could be like the Avenue of the Arts. He said, well, maybe not that, but okay, you can call it a city of the arts. So I started calling us a city of the arts, which isn't all that original. I actually found it in a St. Pete Times article from like 1926 or 27. They mentioned the city of the arts. So I thought, it hasn't been used in all these years. Why not bring it back? So I did, and it stuck. And then what I was able to say to businesses and the artists in the art world and so on, that we're starting to come here because I heard the vibe about city of the arts, that now we're calling ourselves a city of the arts. We have to earn it. The artists have to earn it. Everybody's got to up their game a little bit if we really expect people to come here and purchase art. So I think that's my claim to fame, is I get to say we were a city of the arts, and it seems to have stuck, at least for now.
What do you think the city needs to do to earn the title as City of the Arts?
I think slowly they're getting there. We're kind of maybe from afar now. I think the city has stepped up and is having those conversations. And can the city do 1% for the arts? I think that would be really great. Give or assign 1% for the arts, which probably, frankly, when you add it up, isn't that much more than they're already giving to the Office of the Arts that Celeste Davis and Tracy Kennard work in. I think that I did a strategic plan for the Arts Committee and the Public Arts Commission back in October, November, December, and left it with Celeste. And there's things in there that hopefully they can implement as a roadmap if they can get the funding. We did comparisons to other cities, and what I see here is the cities, if they're going to acknowledge, and they do, that, oh yeah, the arts and the arts community has done great. Look what you've done for our city, without them helping us. So now they pat us on the heads and say, oh, you keep it up. But now we need to say, you need to invest in them more and more. Invest in them. Invest in better signage. Invest in marketing the city for the arts. Right now, we look to our Visit St. Pete Clearwater to spend all the money to support us. But one example that I use is I was amazed when my wife and I went to Asheville, and we actually flew into a neighboring city and drove into Asheville. And as you drive into Asheville, North Carolina, you see these big billboards. Come to the Arts City. It's arts, it's arts, it's arts. And you get there, and we have it all over Asheville. We have 6 arts districts. They kind of have a nice one, admittedly. But, they don't have 5 glass blowing shops. They don't have 9 museums. They don't have, they don't have the quality and the breadth of being able to go out. They don't have the art walks like we do. And yet our city doesn't advertise that. So that's what I'm hoping, that the city will, and marketing will continue to use. I spent more time as director of the Arts Alliance visiting with companies that were moving to St. Pete, taking them on tours, on mural tours. Everybody loves a bus mural tour, trolley mural tour. And then they moved here because they realized they weren't moving to a wasteland. Everybody has its vision of old St. Pete or old Florida. And I think that is what's helping drive the economic growth of St. Pete, as well as the arts growth of St. Pete. They can go hand in hand. So we've done very well on a shoestring, and I think we've done very well depending on all I could do is build on what your gallery and the other galleries do and try to tie it together and promote it. And I hope that that will continue with the Arts Alliance and with working with the city. I'd like to see the city advocate more. Those were the things I was hoping to do for each arts district, but things kind of, as I said, fell apart with COVID, and everybody's coming back in their own way. And I think, again, more funding from the city that could be funneled through the Office of Arts and Cultural, and now Tourism, if that word is there. We've proven that the arts bring in more tourists. We just did a study for the Palladium because we have applied to the county for tourist development funds, and is an independent study. So we hired an independent research firm to come in who have worked with Visit St. Pete Clearwater before, and they did this incredible study that showed the Palladium has, I forget the numbers exactly, but it represents $14 million a year, and that's much more than we expected it to be. And that X amount of people go out to dinner, X amount of people go to breweries. They even measured 35% of our people go to breweries. Of course they do, but we didn't think of it until they did that. So I think going back to if we could, and it is happening slowly. We all wish it would happen faster, but if the city and the Arts Alliance can keep hammering the Americans for the Arts, showing the investment for the arts. And I did make this case recently because I'm jealous, basically. But we did all of this for the Rays, because the Rays were like, "Oh, we're going to move if you did okay." What if American Stage said, "Oh, we're going to move to Asheville"? Would we raise all this money to keep them here? I mean, it just doesn't balance out. A theater company of their status that's been here for 40 something years, you would think, and yet they're on a shoestring begging for money, so to speak, yet again for the American Stage and the Park Summer Series, which we all love, and who knew they were losing money. So I think the city could do a little bit better with some of those standing institutions and the for-profits. What I tried to do is tie them together. When we did flags all around the city, I tried to tie everybody together so that it's and the most recent report that I did for Celeste Davis and the office there, built on Americans for the Arts, which only measured what the nonprofits were doing, because it's easy. You can get a hold of their records. You can see the 99. You can see how much they made and what they do. But what I added on top of that by calling you all was adding in. Admittedly, it's not exact science by any means, but it's kind of like art walk. From year to year, you can, even though the numbers aren't exact, but you can tell the trends are going to be the same. And so I added on top of that the value of all the for-profits in this town as best I could, based on, you all pay sales tax, you support the city sales tax, and so on. And those, you all were never counted. So I think that is just as important to count as how many 9 nonprofit museums. Yes, but we have 20 for-profit galleries. And what are people walking around going to on a Saturday afternoon? Go to the Dolly once. That's great. Now what are you going to do? But I think the theaters, the dance people who live here, the people who teach in high schools and the schools, teachers at the Arts Alliance helps the county pass a legislature every 4 years has to pass a minor, tiny tax. But that tax goes into the arts fund, if you will, for teachers in Pinellas County. And in fact, if you're a teacher in the arts in Pinellas County, on your paycheck, it has it's not the arts fund, I forget what it's called, but part of their salary is there. But why do we have to vote for that every 4 years? Why can't we just do it?
Yeah.
So that's another thing the Arts Alliance has done through ACE, Arts for a Complete Education, is help support arts education.
And I think the other, Art Walk is very well known. I think another really impressive thing is it's coming up next month is Shine Mural. And I know you had a big hand in helping guide and grow that. How did that come to be?
Well, in that instance, what we found was a handful, 3 or 4 mural artists or artists who were getting into murals. We're starting to do some murals down in Central Ave and the alley down there, and maybe a bit here and there. There were a couple of murals, 3 or 4, that were done in the '90s with city approval. So at some point, the artists got together and went to Wayne Atherholt, who at the time was director of the Arts and Culture Office, and Wayne, we worked closely together, and I got stuff done. I could do things much faster than the city could do, you know. So Wayne calls me up and says, "I need you to go to a meeting. It's for mural artists." I'm like, "Oh God, don't put me in a meeting with them." I just like, now I miss it, but I don't really want to be arguing with a bunch of mural artists about what we can't do. And he said, "No, we're going to be. You can do this." So I said, "Okay." So he said, "If this works out, if you say yes, we'll contribute 25,000 to get this started." So I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll go to the meeting." And so we go to the meeting on the second floor of Florida Craft Art. And in the meeting was Test One, Leon, and 4 other mural artists. And they made a presentation, and it knocked my socks off. They were not muralists as I was envisioning. These were business people, very sharp marketing, very, very smart. And so they asked me that, they go through the whole presentation and they all look at me, and it's like I'm the banker. So I go, "I think that's fabulous, and I'll support it. I'll do whatever I can to support it." And so we got together for another meeting the next week, and then I thought, well, these folks are presenting me with something that's going to cost like 100,000. I don't know how we're going to get this done, but I said we need to make up a few rules. You all are the committee. Again, it's kind of like with Art Walk. I will help you. I'll be the bank. I'll be your executive producer. I won't say yay or nay, other than there's a few things the city has to. These are the guidelines for the murals. You can't get paid to do any murals because you're on the committee. That would be self-serving. So they're all kind of grown, but it's okay. And so as long as they were on the committee, they didn't get paid to do any murals. And then, but because you don't want any artists saying, nah, 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 nah.
Yeah.
So we got that together. And in the first year I went out and I just started raising money for it, which was at the time was really hard. And businesses were like, "Oh, I'm not letting anybody put stuff on my walls." And I'm like, "Look, here's the deal. We will show you what they can do or have done. And then, and as we will ask, and it's only for 1 year. The artist will sign a contract. You'll sign a contract. We'll all agree that this is it. So if you don't like it, or you sell the building or something, you can paint over it after a year." Hardly anybody ever did. And we will. So I went to everybody. I just went to everybody. I went to the Courtyard Marriott, which is why I still go there today. And I said, "I need 10 rooms for a week." And she said, "Okay, 10 rooms for a week." I said, "But I have 10 people." She goes, No, John, that's 100 room nights you're talking about here. 10 people for 10,
Whoops.
I'm like, "Okay, fine." So as long as it's not during baseball season. So I'm like, "Oh, please, God, please don't let the Rays get into the playoffs. As long as they're not in the playoffs, they're good. And then please not let there be a hurricane." So we started in September. I got everybody to chip in, and we probably raised 125,000. We invited I didn't do this. The incredible committee did this, and they invited the artists to come in, and what we made arrangements were for paint and then things you don't think about, like where's the artist going to stay, how are they going to get from the hotel to the artwork, where's the paint going to be stored, how are we going to do that. So we got, I think that first year we had one of those companies that has moving things that you throw your stuff in out in the street while you're moving.
Odd or something.
Yeah, they came, they donated those, and we used them. We put ice in there and food and just paint in there for the artists. And then we gave them all a padlock. And then, like the second day we did this at 8 a.m., 7 a.m., I had to run to Home Depot and buy one of those really huge padlock breakers because he forgot that. Somehow they screwed. Like, okay. So when Janae Prevey took over, God bless her, she's much better at this than I ever was with the mural thing. I bequeathed her my bolt cutter.
Pass the torch.
So it built up, it grew. We did very, very well. I think the artists proved themselves. It was different. It became, people started to call us saying, "Can you do a wall?" Because we were doing the walls for free. These days, I think we're saying, or when I left, we were saying to the business owner, "You donate $1,000 because that's what we're paying the artist." Now it might be 2, but the artist came because one, they got to play with each other. They were able to paint whatever they wanted. We told them whatever, as long as it's in that style. There were 3 rules only, which were no advertising, no nudity. I forget the third one. Basically, there was 3 rules. They kind of pushed the second one a little bit, but it was okay. And it was in I think the city got out of the way the first couple of years, and then the city really got into it, and then people started saying, "Oh, the mural tours," and Florida Craft Arts started doing their walking tours, and later on they did bicycle tours, and at one point it would have been a great job for me instead of retiring if I just bought one of those little 6 people electric carts. I could do tours all my life. And suddenly and I produced a mural book, which turned out to be just a great marketing piece for the city. And again, I just went around to everybody and said, "Will you give 5,000? We'll give you a page. We'll give you a page." We raised 30,000, and I did a book, mainly because the photographer volunteered and all the artists volunteered. And the deal with the artists was we weren't going to sell the book. We were just going to give it away to sponsors and to them. And since we weren't selling it, because the minute I said we were going to sell the book for, say, like $20, and we've got 200 artists, what am I going to do? Pay them each a nickel? It was
Right.
not worth it. But and if they didn't want to be in it, they didn't have to be in it. But that proved that we had over 500 murals in St. Pete, and so that has really helped identify St. Pete as an outdoor art experience.
And it's got to be awesome for you to look back, and I know you don't like to take credit for it, but you deserve more credit than I think you want to accept for how downtown St. Pete has grown and evolved. When you know better than most, when you get a bunch of artists and gallery owners in one room, nothing's going to get accomplished. So I've been to a couple of those meetings. I think that was the first time I met you, is when you stood up and said, "Everyone, listen, this is how it's going to be done. This is how we're going to have to do it." And from that moment on, I had the utmost respect for you. So, it's needed, and it's got to be awesome for you to look back the past 20 plus years and see how much downtown has evolved in the arts scene.
It is. It was. I really say to people, I just there was a vacuum of leadership in the arts in general in the city and in the county. There was no county at the time, and several times in the first couple of years, people were like, "Well, why don't you do this for Clearwater?" I'm like, "I got enough trouble just trying to take care of St. Pete," but I loved it. I went to an Arts Alliance thing here to get aware of their annual meeting, and this particular group was mostly retired people who paint or great art, but very artist. And I looked around the room and I'm like, where are the people who argue with me? Where's life? Where's the mural artist? Where's whatever? Where's the cutting edge stuff? So I found out it's elsewhere, and I'm working on that. But I think it's what keeps St. Pete vibrant. Certainly kept me vibrant, and I think, and obviously I loved it. As I said, it's funny. I just thought of this, but the mayor gave me the key to the city, which is mounted on this little thing. It was like a big deal. I got a key to the city. I don't know what to do with it, but probably just as important and more meaningful to me that I could do something with is I for a while there I was wearing a white hat, like a Cuban hat. And one of the artists was doing a mural and he's painting. So, he said, "Oh, dude, I love your hat." I'm like, "I love that color paint." I said, "Tag my hat." And he goes, and I love that hat. I wore it for 2 years. I'd be walking up the street. I'd walk through Williams Park, and all the dudes there, who I mean, are going, "Cool hat, man." Can I have a quarter? But I finally trampled it, or something happened, and I keep looking. I got one here, and I tried once to do it myself. No talent. It did not work. It just looks stupid. So the things that are meaningful to us, my stupid hat, or the key to, I value the key to the city. I'd love to do a YouTube or something, come back with the key and go, "Well, does it open here? No. Does it get me in City Hall? No. Oh, it gets me into Duncan McClellan's. Okay. Oh,
There you go.
I gotta figure that out." But that would be marketing the city, right? I think that would be kind of
City
fun.
of the Arts.
So
Now, what is one way that you would urge and suggest that residents, locals, and visitors do to support the local art scene?
buy art. I used to put this at the back of my presentation, ways to get involved. Number one, show up. Just show up. to go to an art opening. You don't have to buy anything, but it's so important to the artist that somebody cared enough to come see them. Just show up. And then 2, buy art, participate. And 3, donate to a nonprofit or whatever. But, there's a whole world of wonderful people out there who donate to their church, to their family, to causes where somebody got hurt and you want to help that person or something. But then, they think, oh, why would I give $25 to the Warehouse Arts District? They don't need it. They're starving artists. They're supposed to be starving. And I'm like, there's a whole TED talk in there that I am not equipped to give, but I think something like that would be. But that would be it by art. So I think I've enjoyed talking about St. Pete. I bill it as it's the Florida arts capital. And I say that not because I just want to blow it up, but think about it. It's the Florida Holocaust Museum. It's the Florida Orchestra. There's several. It's the Florida Craft Arts. People don't realize that they are a statewide somewhere organization in there. There's a few other Florida things in there that I would zip through. Of course, the Dali, the only one in the United States, the museum. So even though it's the St. Pete Museum of Art, it's the only encyclopedic art museum, but you're across the street from it. Why am I telling you? In the Southeast. So I kept pointing this out, is that we are a Florida cultural icon, not just St. Pete. We think bigger than that, but where else can you have that small town feel and yet be a Florida center? So that's another reason why I was trying to point out that we are a city of the arts.
Thank you so much, John. It's really interesting to me that so many of my friends now that live elsewhere, they know St. Pete as a city of the arts. It's kind of the reputation that it's built. And, it's really been the past probably 10 to 15 years that's happened. And it sounds like that's about when John, he said 2008. So that's about when he took over. So it's amazing to me how much of an impact he has had on this city and how he's so humble about it, because there is so much from, the galleries to the performing arts to, American Stage, to the funding that he's done for the school. And really he has had a hand in all of that. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I think the most apparent is the Shine murals. It's all the arts is big in St. Pete, but when you see it, that's a 60-foot tall by 30-foot mural, it's hard to miss. And I think we're now up to 200 murals, I believe. And I think how it first started with someone locking their paint in one of the storage sheds and needing bolt cutters to get to it, to where it is now. It's so St. Pete. It's the St. Pete way. We started something small, we just did it, and over the years it's gotten into be something pretty impressive. And I think Shine's coming up. I think it starts on October 11th.
I think so, yeah.
Yep. And I believe it goes on for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And it's different murals all around downtown. Some of the artists will be set up at various galleries downtown, so it's definitely check out the Shine Mural Fest. And then also if you're looking for something else to do on October 12th, the gallery is going to be having a block party on our entire block. So 300 Beach Drive is having a fall festival where all the restaurants and all the businesses are going to have fun activities set up outside. We'll have live music, live demonstrations, liquor tastings, spirit tastings, unique meals, make your own waffle cone and fill it with gelato. So October 12th, mark your calendar. Should be a really fun event as we kick off not only Shine, but we also kick off hopefully the start of fall and some of the cooler weather.
And it's it's an art walk that night too. So
it'll be what is it, year 26 of Second Saturday Art Walks. So it's the arts are a big thing in this city, and I think we sometimes take it for granted how artsy St. Pete is without forcing arts down your throat all the time. But it's a huge part of why St. Pete is so unique. And continue to support your local artists. Continue to support your local theaters, and if you can, donate. If you want to buy artwork, please go to SHAPIRO'Gallery.com. If you want to see the new artwork, go to our social medias on Shapiro Gallery, Shapiro's Gallery on Facebook and Instagram. Then also share these podcasts. The more the podcasts get out there, the more people get to know the various artists. And the more that we're educated, I think the better we are at supporting the arts and becoming more aware of that the arts need our support now more than ever. So definitely, if we can all do our parts to help out the art scene, I think it's only going to be beneficial for the entire city.
Yeah, let's really make, St. Pete the arts capital of Florida. I love that tagline, so I hope that sticks.
Absolutely. So next week, we've teased this guest before, and unfortunately, she had 2 kids getting ready for school, so that took priority over in a podcast with us. But we have the Hillborn family, who's a second generation clay studio. We're gonna have Lisa and her mom, who started it all, join us on the podcast. So as they get to talk about their family dynamics and their family relationships, we can definitely relate to them. So I'm excited to finally have Lisa and her mom on, and then possibly Tyler, her husband's, going to join as well. So you'll get all different dynamics and views of what it's like owning a clay studio and running a clay business with in-laws and moms and dads.
Should be good.
Yeah, so that's next week. So make sure you click that subscribe button on the podcast, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, YouTube. It's Shapiro's Rooted in American Craft. I thank you guys for listening to this week's episode. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about the St. Pete art scene and a little bit of history of the art scene, and just how important of a figure John Collins is to St. Pete. And I'm so glad he got a key to the city, because he definitely deserves it for all the work that he's done. And thank you, John. And I think that's a wrap for this episode, Lana. Anything else you can think of that we need to add or that I forgot?
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, until next week, guys, thank you so much. And big Rays series coming up this weekend. So hopefully they beat the Red Sox, and go Rays. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.